Ah, perfect, refreshing. Just like the European Soccer Show, which is coming to you every week currently. With me, talking about refreshing, it's Leo. Hello, Leo. Have you had a nice week?
Hey Daniel, how are you?
I'm all right. I regret doing that. That was too hot to do that joke with. But apologies to all those listeners that have suggested. Believe me, it's backfired horribly as I writhe around in pain within myself. We've got quite a lot to get through today, though, which I'm very excited to get on board with. But I will just point out to everybody that the other reason I'm dying in myself because I am so very poorly. Yeah, so if you see me crying at any point, that's why. Either that or Leo's just really hit me with a good story. Right, we are going to start with, well, it says La Liga, but we've got to go to Spain generally because La Liga is not the only thing. Well, I was going to say that happened in Spain this week. That's not true. That is the only thing that happened in Spain because the Super Cup was it Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, yes, the La Liga was the only thing that happened in Spain this week. But let's talk about it anyway. Let's talk about La Liga first. So on Friday, an astonishingly important victory for Real Sociedad against Getafe, 2-1 at Getafe. Getafe equalised in the 90th minute only for Real Sociedad through Aramburu to score in the 6th stoppage time. Vital win for Sociedad. On Saturday, Oviedo got their third draw in a row at home against Real Betis, whose form has really slumped of late. Villarreal still doing brilliant things. They won 3-1 against Alaves, all goals coming in the second half. Girona, another vital win in the relegation battle, winning 1-0 against relegation rivals Osasuna, who had a man sent off late on. Oh, sorry, Girona did, in fact. Valencia won, Elche won. A good point for relegation-threatened Valencia, but still not a victory. On Sunday, Rayo Vallecano won 2-1 at home against Mallorca, and Levante, who have picked up 4 points in the last 2 games, drew an impressive 1-1 draw against Espanyol, who had a rare off day. First of all, let's talk about the repercussions of this at the other end of the table in relegation. So currently at the bottom, still Real Oviedo on 13, but as I said before, undefeated in 3 draws in a row. They're trying to do a Celta Vigo thing. Levante on 14, although they have a game in hand. Valencia on 17. And then you've got Mallorca 18, Alaves 19, Osasuna 19, Sevilla 20, Girona 21, Getafe 21, Real Sociedad 21. So Real Sociedad are now 11th, but they are still only 4 points ahead of the relegation zone. This is quite a scrap. In the Premier League, we've got the fight for the European place, but in Spain, it's all about teams just trying to get out of the relegation fight. But they keep getting, every time they think they're ahead, they pull them back in.
Yeah. I think you're right, and by highlighting the fact that only 3-4 points between some teams, it shows that it's a very very tight league. Maybe the tightest in Europe, with everything at stake at every level. I took a look, and only 7 points. Even it's just 7 points between Athletic Club, who are actually 8th.
Yeah,
And Valencia, who are 18th. So the thing is that every weekend, every game, every point count because it can shape up the standings.
absolutely. And as you say, sort of so close from Valencia to Athletic Club. We should also point out though that Valencia, do you see them winning 2 matches to catch up? Not in the near future. So, but anything's possible. It does also mean that if you hit a real bad patch of form, you are at risk of getting really sucked into this in a big way.
Yeah, that's true. And which is interesting is that if you take a look at the result of the weekend, you can see that the 3 bottom teams, none of them have lost and none of them have won. So everything is like the previous weekend, but everything can change so fast that it's exciting to see every weekend what these teams are gonna do.
Villarreal still putting up the fight, 3 points ahead of Atletico Madrid in 3rd place, and they have a game in hand, which if they win, they'll only be 1 point behind Real Madrid. They're still having a wonderful season. Wonderful to see them keep going. And I believe, so the form table, Barcelona have won 6 on the bounce, which is astonishing. I think it might be more, actually. No, anyway. But the next best form is Villarreal, who have got 5 wins from the last 6 matches. The only loss being, of course, against Barcelona. Yeah, Villarreal, time again, are showing their credentials as not just favourites for the Champions League, but they aren't out of this title battle yet. They consistently show their quality as others humble, like Atletico.
Yeah, you've been talking about the fact that if they win the game they get in hand, they will close the gap to Real Madrid. But the thing is that if they actually win it, they will put Atletico far behind them because they have already 3 points. If they win this game against Real Madrid, because we have to say that it's against Madrid that they will play this game, they can put Atletico 6 points behind in the race to the Champions League spots. Even if in Spain you've got 4 teams qualified for the Champions League, so it's a very high stakes for Villarreal to win this. And I've noted something is that one of their strengths is that they have several options for scoring. If you take a look at the different goal scorers, you will see that 4 of them have scored 5 or more goals. So it's very interesting for this team. They are already eliminated of the Champions League. They are in the Copa del Rey too, so they will focus on the league, and there is a great chance that they will finish third in the league, or even second if Real Madrid or Barcelona fall down. But it's to be honest.
Also a word on Girona, who so talk about like best the points accumulated in the last 6 matches. Atletico have only gained 10 points in the last 6 matches, but Girona have got the same amount. They've Girona 10 points. That includes 3 wins from the last 4 games. It feels like finally they've turned the corner and got a bit of momentum.
Yeah, they had. We've discussed about it. They had a very difficult start to the season, having to wait until October to record their first win, but they have made it up for since, because they have, as you said, they have won some games, drawn others against biggest teams. If you remember their game against Real Madrid, for example, it was a draw, so interesting for them. And above all, they have managed to gain points against their direct opponents to the relegation, and it's important in their situation.
The longest unbeaten run beside Barcelona, do you know who it is?
I don't. But
Celta Vigo.
Okay.
Celta Vigo are currently 7th. They are joint 6th with Real Betis, just on same amount of points, on 29 points. I mean, it's wonderful to see, because not only like Celta Vigo again started the season slowly, lots of draws, were part of the relegation discussion, but yeah, 8 undefeated, picking up 13 points from the last 18 available. It's been brilliant to watch the turnaround, but also, outside of the top 4, we have Espanyol in 5th, Real Betis in 6th, and Celta Vigo in 7th. That's a fun mixture going for Europe. But we should move on quickly because, of course, the big news has been that Xabi Alonso has been sacked as the head coach of Real Madrid. So let's quickly look at the Supercopa that was happening in Saudi Arabia. On Wednesday, Barcelona defeated Athletic Club 5-0. It's a different Athletic Club from last season, we have to admit. Although impressive performances, Ferran Torres, Fermin Lopez, Rooney Baji and Rafinha with the goals. On Thursday, Atletico Madrid 1, Real Madrid 2. Valverde scored in the 2nd minute. Rodrigo extended the lead in the second half before Sørloth pulled one back. The Real Madrid hang on for the victory. But on Sunday, the final, the actual Supercopa, Barcelona 3, Real Madrid 2, and possibly the most insane ending to the first half you'll ever hear. Rafinha opened the scoring in the 36th minute. Then in the second minute of stoppage time, Vinicius Jr. equalised. And then in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Robert Lewandowski gave up Barcelona the lead. And then in the 6th minute of stoppage time, Gonzalo Garcia equalised again. And then in the second half, Rafinha scored Barcelona's 3rd. and also Barcelona held on despite losing De Jong with a red card in stoppage time. A wonderful match. Let's talk about Real Madrid first of all, because of course Xabi Alonso has been released from his position. And one question I want to throw at you is, do you think, because Real Madrid were close to winning this, do you think had he won this competition, he still would have been fired?
I don't really know, because I've read something this morning saying that he would have asked Florentino Perez to leave his post as Real Madrid manager. Maybe a win in the Supercopa would have make him rethink about his position, his role, and his future. But of course, the fact that they have actually lost, it sealed his situation, unfortunately, because I think that he's paying the price for problems beyond his control. It's been a few years that Real Madrid is a club in disarray, where players who still have everything to prove, because some have won the Champions League, of course, in 2024 and even before, but they allow themselves to put themselves above the institution that is Real Madrid, and I don't think it's a good thing. And this institution, which is incarnated by Florentino Perez, he's clearly allows this to happen, because if you remember when it was Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale, Karim Benzema, they were the best players in the world at the moment, but we never heard about the fact that they think they would be above the institution, and today it's a problem.
Absolutely. Be very interested to see the managerial merry-go-round potentially in the summer, because as there have been reports that Manchester City may be going after Vincent Kompany, but currently Bayern Munich's manager, to replace Pep Guardiola should he decide to leave. And of course, if Kompany did go, then Xabi Alonso is also a former Bayern Munich player, so that does appear to, and also on a slot, it keeps getting linked with former clubs. I suppose the other thing is, it seems quite strange because it felt like a corner had been turned, because before this the Supercopa, Real Madrid had won 3 matches on the bounce in the league. They defeated Atletico Madrid in the semi-final of the Supercopa, which is not a nothing result. And so the fact that they lost to Barcelona in a narrow defeat like that, in such a chaotic one, it feels like it feels like so much progress in comparison to their last defeat to Barcelona, and yet that seems to be the thing that broke the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, but if you remember, we've talked about their win this past few weeks, and it was never really convincing. Sometimes it was just harsh at the end of a game. Even in Copa del Rey, if I remember, they have knocked out a second or third division side on a 2-3 or 1-2 score. So it was somehow close to the bad results, but and they have, of course, they have beaten Atletico, which is never nothing, especially since they have lost in the league 5-1 in the early season, so they needed this revenge. But against Barcelona it was different, and I want to praise the performance once again of Rafinha, because we have mentioned it.
Well, I mean, we should highlight so in the 2 matches, Rafinha scored 3 times. He had 2 assists.
Yeah.
And that's 8 goals for Barcelona, and he was involved in 5 of them. It's astonishing since he's come back into the team, having supplanted Marcus Rashford, who was having such a good season. He's somehow done better.
I think he is the main man at the moment. Maybe, and I think Lamine Yamal or Pedri are better football players, but in just the pure aspect of what he brings to the field, to the squad in the dressing room, and his performance. Rafinha is at the moment the most important Barcelona player.
Well, we have to leave Spain because otherwise we'll just talk about this forever. Right, let's go over to Italy, and it is Serie A. We've got a double header for you. So we'll talk about the midweek first. So on Tuesday, Pisa lost at home 3-0 against Como. Lecce 0, Roma 2. Roma finding a bit of form. And their strikers scored, both Ferguson and Dovbyk. Sassuolo 0, Juventus 3. Talking about finding form, Jonathan David finally scored in that match. On Wednesday, Bologna, their bad form continues. 0. Atalanta 2. Their revival also continues. A couple of goals for Krstovic. Napoli 2. Hellas Verona 2. The biggest shock of the midweek. The fact that Hellas Verona were winning 2-0 at half-time before goals from Scott McTominay and Di Lorenzo level things up. But terrible performance. Well, a bit of blow from Napoli. Lazio 2, Fiorentina 2. Fiorentina following up there another victory with a draw, a really good point, really good results. They thought they'd won it with Goodmanson scoring in stoppage time, but alas for Lazio to score from the penalty spot in the 5th minute stoppage time as well. Parma 0, Inter 2. A lot more sedate victory for Inter there. And Torino 1, Udinese 2. And then on Thursday, Cremonese 2, Cagliari 2. A goal and an assist for Jamie Vardy. And the second biggest surprise of, well, is it surprise? AC Milan doing what AC Milan does, struggling against team in the relegation zone. AC Milan 1, Genoa 1. Genoa winning until the 2nd minute of stoppage time before Rafael Leao squeezed a point. Right, so that's the midweek. I suppose we should highlight the fact that Napoli were held, and that was a real stumble. First of all, credit for the fact they came back into it and got the point, but also they were really sloppy in this.
Yeah, they were. I remember we texted about that game. I thought they could have really lost this one, but they didn't. And once again, as we will talk about it in a few minutes, Scott McTominay came to rescue his team. He's been incredible since joining Napoli last season. I don't think anybody could have expected him to succeed that way, because it's incredible to be named Serie A MVP at the end of his first season. He's becoming, I don't know if I can say a legend at Napoli, because he will need to achieve more maybe, but he's becoming someone really, really important in the history of Napoli, because he has won the Scudetto. Yeah.
He's certainly iconic. I think he's certainly arrived at helping them win the Scudetto, but also just a goal-scoring midfielder isn't necessarily the done thing. You know, being a goal scorer as a midfielder as well is something else. Yeah,
especially since he's not playing like a number 10. You know, he's more a box-to-box player, so it's more and more impressive from him.
Yeah, to think that Man United used him as a defensive midfielder. Before we talk about AC Milan against Genoa, I'm going to talk about the weekend's results. We'll come back to Milan. So on Saturday, Como 1, Bologna 1. That result means that Bologna are now winless in 6 matches and have only picked up 3 points in that time. Real rot for Bologna. Udinese 2, Pisa 2, Roma, another 2-0 victory. They seem to have bounced back nicely. Another victory for Atalanta, 2-0 against Torino. Then on Sunday, Lecce 1, Parma 2. These guys were 1 point apart, these two relegation rivals, before the kickoff. Lecce scored in the first minute, but then Banda got sent off in the second half, and then Lecce scored an own goal, and then Parma scored a second, and then Lecce got another man sent off. They sort of really self-imploded there. Fiorentina 1, AC Milan 1. Again, AC Milan losing until the 90th minute, where Nkunku rescued a point for AC Milan. But Fiorentina, 5 points in 3 matches. The revival is on. Hellas Verona 0, Lazio 1. Inter 2, Napoli 2. A great match. Napoli came from a goal down twice in this game. Di Marco opened the scoring. Then McTominay equalised. Çalhanoğlu scored from the penalty spots. McTominay equalised again. Oh, you can't keep that man down. And then on Monday, Genoa 3, Cagliari 0. Genoa again, sort of really coming to the fore here, and Juventus 5, Cremonese 0. So let's talk about Milan first of all. So AC Milan only picked up 2 points against Genoa and Fiorentina, although two teams that are actually finding some form. But 2 points against the team in 19th and 15th place. This is the sort of thing that AC Milan can't do. They're meant to be, they're the ones without Europe. They're the ones that sort of have the most sort of space to go for a title charge. And they keep doing this against the team in the bottom 6-7 positions.
Yeah, if I was a Milan supporter, I would regret my week, because especially when you take a look at the results of Napoli, who have drawn 2 games also, including one against Inter Milan. With four more points, Milan could have been first in the league until next week. So, yeah, it's a lot of regret. But I want to highlight the performance of Fiorentina, because it's a really good result for them to have drawn with Milan. They have now only lost 1 game in the last 5 in Serie A, so they are on a impressive run in their form. So good for them.
Well, yeah, and actually watch this space, because I mentioned it before, like Genoa have found a bit of form as well, although that is only in the last 3 matches. Before then, Genoa had lost 4 matches in a row. But looking at the bottom of the table, the points accumulated in the last 6 games, Pisa only 3. Cremonese have the worst form. They've only picked up 2 points in the last 6, and they're only 5 points ahead of Lecce. So Cremonese could still get sucked back into this. But Genoa have picked up 5 points. Cagliari have picked up 5 points. Hellas Verona have picked up 7. Fiorentina have picked up 8. Lecce picked up 9. Parma have picked up 10. So actually, these clubs that had actually created a bit of a gap in the previous month are now getting sucked back into it. So especially Pisa seem to not generate much momentum at all. But everyone else, it feels like they're all at risk and they all have the potential to be safe. Which of course makes it for another fascinating relegation battle, much like La Liga.
Yeah, you have told everything about how the things are going at the bottom of the table, and we've discussed if Fiorentina could be relegated or no, and the fact that some team battling to stay up can't win these crucial games, it makes me think more and more that Fiorentina are going to stay up.
And on that point, sorry to back you up, because of course the two draws this week, that it was away to Lazio and at home to AC Milan. Those are 2 really good draws.
Yeah, of course. And even when you watched the games, you can see improvement in their way of playing, in their intention. So it's positive for them.
Absolutely. Right, let's bounce to the top. So I mentioned it before, Bologna winless in 6. They are now down to 9th place Bologna, although they do have a game in hand. But a word on Atalanta. They've won 5 of their last 6 matches. They are now 7th. And 3 points behind Como above them. So Atalanta seems to have recovered really well and actually are now pushing for Europe again.
Yeah, you've mentioned Bologna, the Como versus Bologna game, and I don't know if you saw Baturina's goal in the last minute. Sensational, certainly one of the goals of the weekend. But it was really crucial because it allowed Como to stay 3 points above, 3 points up with Atalanta, who, as you mentioned, they have embraced a good form these past weeks. So the race to the European spot is going crazy.
Final word on Juventus, who are now undefeated in 6. They have won 5 and drawn 1 of their last 6 matches. Like, brilliant form, actually joint best in the league with Inter. But you were talking before about AC Milan having a frustrated week. You do think back to, say, Juventus last week drew with Lecce, who of course are just narrowly outside of the relegation zone. Had Juventus won that, they would currently be second. So it does feel like, and although we should point out that Juventus, Roma, Atalanta, Lazio, they have played a game more than Inter, AC Milan, Napoli, Como, Bologna. But still, that's the, again, sort of thing of like, if Juventus want to put real pressure and if they want to be considered in this title challenge, they really can't slip up anymore. They slipped up too much early on.
Yeah, of course, you have every time you have a bad result against weaker teams, of course you have reasons to have regrets. But if you watch Juventus and pay attention to their games, we've said that they certainly lack of an offensive player capable of scoring. And finally, it seems that Jonathan David, who had a terrible start of his Torino's adventure, may finally have settled in. He has scored 3 goals and assisted 2 in the last months. So finally, he's being adapted to Serie A and his new teams, and I think it will obviously help Juventus to fight for the first, second, or third place in the league.
Again, fascinating, brilliant stuff. Right, we're going to move on to the Bundesliga. That's right, the Bundesliga is back. They are back from their break, and we opened up with possibly the game of the season. Frankfurt 3, Borussia Dortmund 3. What a match this was. Dortmund opened the scoring through Bayer before Özun equalised on the penalty spot. And then after halftime, Maker gave Dortmund the lead again before I can't never say his name. Ebmu Talib equalised for Frankfurt. And then Frankfurt thought they won it. 2nd minute of stoppage time through Dahoud. But in the 5th minute stoppage time, Chuck Maker equalised for Dortmund. 3-3, fantastic match. On Saturday, Freiburg won 2-1 at home against Hamburg. That's right. It's the Burger Derby, the also so-called Delicious Derby, or the Patty Derby. Pick one of the above. Heidenheim 2, Köln 2. We've actually got a couple of postponements. St. Pauli versus RB Leipzig. That was postponed. Werder Bremen and Hoffenheim was postponed. Union Berlin 2, Mainz 2. Possibly the most surprising results. The break wasn't good for Bayer Leverkusen. They lost at home against Stuttgart 4-1. In fact, Stuttgart were 4-0 up by half-time. And then on Sunday, Borussia Mönchengladbach won 4-0 against Augsburg. And then, my goodness, ruthless Bayern Munich beating Wolfsburg 8-1. And believe it or not, it was 1-1 at some point. Goals from Diaz, 2 from Elise, 2 own goals, and then Guerrero, Harry Kane, and Leon Goretzka. First of all, quick word. Let's start with Bayern. Just a quick one for this, because obviously this was so dominant. But this really is just showing how ruthless they are. They want to score this many goals.
Yeah, you are totally right. And which is also incredible is that of the 6 goals they have scored, because 2 have been own goals from Wolfsburg players, there are 5 different goal scorers, so it shows their offensive strength and depth. So impressive.
Yeah, their left winger, their right winger, their striker, one of their midfielders, their left wing back, or left full back, where you wanted to throw it.
Yeah, and which is also incredible is it's that they have only played 16 league games so far. We are early January, and they have already scored 63 goals in the league. So, yeah, Bayern are ruthless, as you said.
Yeah. Real shock by Leverkusen 1, Stuttgart 4. Stuttgart, their form has stuttered before the break, and there was concern that they would drop out of this. But that victory puts 3rd place RB Leipzig on 29, though they have a game in hand. Bayer Leverkusen on 4th on 29, and Stuttgart on 5th on 29. So we've got a 3-way tie on 29 points. So not only have Stuttgart stayed in it, but actually they may have put a real dent in Bayer Leverkusen. That's the sort of performance that can really put a spanner in the works.
Yeah, and the fact that it has been done away from home is really, really positive for them. It's a victory, as you said, that further tightens the race to the Champions League, as three teams are now with 29 points, even if Leipzig have a game in hand. But their form isn't optimal, talking about Leipzig. And which is funny between Leverkusen and Stuttgart is that their record in the league is the same. They have both won 9 games, drawn 2, and lost 5. So yeah, and if you look at their form, Stuttgart are likely to gain more points than Leverkusen in the next weeks.
But real sort of bangs, gambling the bang.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so outside of Bayern, obviously second place Dortmund, and they're 4 points clear now of RB Leipzig. But also, they have been pretty damn consistent. Second best form in the league. A brilliant 3-3 draw at Frankfurt. I mean, you messaged me at the end of it. I think you described this game as lit, which I'm not sure I would ever describe a match as. But it was a fantastic match, wasn't it?
Yeah, fantastic. And it's a game that confirms that Guirassy is going through a difficult period as a striker, of course, because he hasn't scored since October or end of October or early November. But for this time, it's not Dortmund who have failed to win, because sometimes, Dortmund are leading in a game and concede a goal in the dying minutes. But this time they have scored in the dying minutes, so they really earned that point. But the real fairy tale or feel-good story of this game concern Younes Ebnou Talib.
You struggled as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. He arrived in Frankfurt from the German second division this winter, and he scored obviously against Dortmund during his first game. And it's worth noting that exactly 2 years ago, he has been without a club because he just terminated his contract in Italian third division after a metatarsal injury. So it's like a real rebirth to him and a good story.
Well, good for him. That's wonderful news. Quick word on the third best form in the league. Do you know who has the third best form?
I don't. Gladbach, because
no. Well, actually, they have pretty good, but I believe the third best is Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim now down in 6th place. They have a game in hand. If they win that game in hand, they would potentially go third. Hoffenheim have really snuck up, haven't they, on this group?
Yeah, they had, and I know Lyon played Hoffenheim in preseason, and I remember this game was, I will not say easy, but Hoffenheim didn't seem to have the possibility to compete for European spot at the time. So it's a good surprise for them. I think for the fans too. As you said, they have a game in hand because they haven't played this weekend. So it could be one of the great story of the season in Bundesliga.
Right, let's park that there because we got to talk about England, and we will sort of talk about France, but yes, let's talk about, first of all, the midweek games for the Premier League. On Tuesday, the game we were all looking forward to, West Ham United against Nottingham Forest, 18th against 17th, the relegation class decider, potentially. And West Ham United threw it away. They lost at home 2-1 against Forest. West Ham were in the lead at half-time, 1-0, before Nottingham Forest equalised through Dominguez and a late Morgan Gibbs-White penalty. On Wednesday, Antoine Semenyo bid adieu to Bournemouth but he left by scoring the winning goal, basically his last kick in a Bournemouth shirt, as Bournemouth won 3-2 at home against Spurs. Brentford won 3-0 against Sunderland. Igor Thiago, another 2 goals. My goodness, what a season Brentford are having. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 0, a match that basically summed up how two clubs with 2 very small squads playing in Europe finally got tired. Everton 1, Wolves 1. Not particularly notable, apart from the fact that Everton had a complete meltdown with 10 minutes to go. Michael Keane getting sent off, straight red for pulling a player's hair, and then Jack Grealish got sent off 5 minutes later. 2 yellow cards in quick succession, the second one for dissent, and clapping enthusiastically at the referee. Fulham beat Chelsea 2-1. Mark Cucurella got sent off in just the 22nd minute, and Fulham managed to eke a win with another Harry Wilson goal. Manchester City drew again, 3 on the bounce in the Premier League, drawing 1-1 with Brighton. Burnley 2, Manchester United 2. The Darren Fletcher tenure began with a draw at Burnley, although Benjamin Šeško finally scored a couple of goals. And then possibly the match of the season, anywhere, anytime. Newcastle United 4, Leeds United 3. Leeds United winning 3-2 at the end of 90 minutes. Then Bruno Guimaraes equalised from a penalty spot before Harvey Barnes scored in the 12th minute of stoppage time. And then on Thursday, the complete anticlimax, that was Arsenal against Liverpool, which was so boring. Right, that was the Premier League. I suppose a couple of things we should say. First of all, Arsenal had the benefit of knowing the results of Aston Villa and Manchester City. So the fact that both of those teams dropped points meant that Arsenal didn't have to really throw the dice and gamble against a potentially dangerous Liverpool side.
Yeah, but the fact is, if they have won this game, they could count 8 points. There could be 8 points clear from Manchester City and Aston Villa. So we know that Arsenal, they have done this season. They could drop points even when they got a good advance compared to their opponent. So they absolutely need to win these games, even if winning against Liverpool, drawing against Liverpool isn't chaotic. It's obviously an interesting result.
But we should point out that Liverpool, Liverpool have fixed things a bit. They are now joint longest unbeaten run in the league with Manchester City, 9 matches unbeaten, although Liverpool have drawn the last 3 games, just like Manchester City. Interesting. But again, if it's that sort of time where at the end of such a hectic festive period, it's understandable that some of these teams have dipped a fair amount. Quick word on Forest West Ham, because that's potentially the most important result of the weekend. You and I were talking about like how on earth Nuno Espirito Santo can continue in the role, because currently West Ham are now 7 points behind. That's insane. In fact, West Ham have only picked up 1 point in the last 6 matches. It's not only are they that far behind Nottingham Forest, but they just don't look to be capable of actually getting results anymore. Not even draws. Burnley have had 3 draws recently, and yet West Ham have had 1 point in 6 matches. And yet Nuno Espirito Santo is still there. Why do you think that? Not that we want people to get fired from their jobs, obviously, but do you think West Ham are in a position where they have to roll the dice, or is it a gamble to stay with him instead?
We've discussed about it last week, and that's a tough question because there are a lot of problems in that West Ham side. I would point, of course, firstly the defensive performances. They're the worst defense in the Premier League right now. In front of Wolves, in front of Burnley, who are their opponents in the relegation zone. So it's clearly one of the problems. They don't score a lot too, but I think they have some good players in attack, in the attacking sector. So what do you think? Do they need to stay with Nuno or release him? Or I think that's a tough question.
Personally, I think the sign was that they also cancelled the contract of Callum Wilson and signed 2 strikers that have not only are young but also have no experience in the Premier League. Seems I mean, that could be the biggest gamble of all, but also shows exactly the mess of planning in regards to recruitment at West Ham United. Because people were referring to the fact that Graham Potter, obviously, he had a torrid time of things, but his squad, on paper, they have a decent squad, but you don't see how it all fits together. For example, like they signed Nicholas Fulkrug for 20 million euros, and a 31-year-old striker with no pace doesn't sound like the sort of thing that would work in the Premier League, especially one that's also injury prone. So what was the logic behind having him as the centre point? Are you then going to surround him with pacey wingers and supporting midfielders? But then you also still have Thomas Souček as one of the midfielders. So yeah, none of it seems to fit. None of it seems to make sense. And basically, a lot relies heavily on just give the ball to Jared Bowen.
Yeah, and it's a bit it's incredible, and West Ham can count themselves lucky to be able to count on Jared Bowen, and they also can be proud or not proud, but they can count lucky that he's not an injury-prone player. He's been performing even if his team doesn't. So yeah, I don't know where they would be if it's not with Jared Bowen.
Oh my goodness, we need to move on, but like obviously we still haven't spoken about like Bournemouth 3, Spurs 2. Again, like the perfect send-off from Antoine Semenyo, and a gorgeous reception that you got from the crowd as well. But also we've not spoken about Newcastle 4, Leeds United 3, which you described as the Daniel Hames derby. It's like my team and my second team. Yeah. But what a match that was. I mean, it was chaos. It was chaos in the sense that actually that no team had control, and actually it was very sloppy, but it did make it very entertaining. But like I say, we do need to move on. But quick look at the table just to highlight the fact that if the gap between Arsenal and Manchester City, Manchester United, 6 points. But the gap between Liverpool in 4th, 6 points below them are Brighton and Everton in 11th and 12th. That gives you some idea of how close this is, how many teams are in line for this push for the European places. Liverpool are 4th, Brentford 5th, 6 matches unbeaten. Newcastle have the longest winning streak in the Premier League, 3 matches on the bounce. They're now 6th ahead of Manchester United. Chelsea are now 8th, Fulham 9th, 6 matches unbeaten. They have the best form in the league outside of Arsenal. That's insane. Tied with Brentford. What incredible season for them. Sunderland are now 10th, Brighton 11th, Everton 12th, Crystal Palace down to 13th, Spurs are 14th, and yet on 27 points are still only 6 points behind the potential Champions League spot. Yeah, incredible. But we need to quickly talk about the FA Cup. We're not going to do it at great length, but I just want to highlight some notable results. We'll save the big one to the end. So, Wrexham, that's right, you can't keep them away for long. Wrexham drew 3-3 with Nottingham Forest, but ended up winning on penalties. The first Premier League side they've beaten since 2001, I believe, something like that, maybe 1999, but for a long time. Wolves won a game again, 6-1 against lower league Shrewsbury Town. That's now, I think that's 4 matches unbeaten for Wolves in all competitions. Manchester City won 10-1 against Exeter City. I bring this up because Manchester City and Newcastle play in the semi-final of the League Cup tonight. Newcastle went to extra time and penalties. They drew 3-3 with Bournemouth before winning on penalties, and they'll play Manchester City, who had a funny old time of things, winning 10-1. Spurs 1, Aston Villa 2. Aston Villa were incredible in that first half, winning 2-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Again, more pressure on Thomas Frank. Liam Rosenior's start as Chelsea manager ended in a 5-1 victory at Charlton Athletic. West Ham also won a game. You couldn't write this, although they did need extra time to defeat Championship side QPR. And then Manchester United 1, Brighton, Hove Athletic 2. So Darren Fletcher's tenure of 2 matches involved a draw with Burnley and a loss at home to Brighton. So we're going to point that there's got one more result to say, but I've got a little comment on that because, of course, it's also been announced that Michael Carrick is expected to take over and as interim manager until the end of the season. But also, Manchester United are now out of both cup competitions. They are not in European competition this year, which means they will only have 40 matches this season, 40, which is now I messaged you saying like this feels like a record of some kind. This should be trivial trivia later, but like this is part of the this is relevant, right? So, what year do you think was the last time Manchester United had so few matches in a season? I'll give you a clue. It's a notable historical date.
I don't know, but I know that it's been a long time.
So the last time Manchester United, first of all, the last time Manchester United were knocked out of both cup competitions in their first match was 1980. Oh, I forgot, 1987, 88, something like that. But the last time they only had 40 matches, there's fewer matches as this in a season,
45.
was 1914/1915, that season. And so, like, why do they have so few matches? Possibly because of the First World War.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like this is historically unsuccessful Manchester United, and it is official. The third round of the FA Cup and the second round of the League Cup, and they're not in Europe, and yet there's still this sort of like thing of like, it's Manchester United, it's a big club. Sort of that kind of encapsulates it perfect. Sorry, I'm monologuing, but I just wanted to throw that in there. But the match we are going to talk about before we move on, Macclesfield 2, Crystal Palace 1. Crystal Palace, the defending FA Cup holders of the Premier League and in European competition. Macclesfield of the 6th tier. If you don't know what that is, if you've ever watched the Wrexham documentary and they complain about being in the National League, this is the league below that, the 6th tier of English football. Macclesfield 2, Crystal Palace 1. This is possibly the biggest result, not just in this competition, but perhaps all cup competitions everywhere, because it is literally the biggest upset in FA Cup history. And as the oldest cup competition and one of the most notable, that may well be the greatest ever. They are 117 places below. This is beyond unbelievable. This is not only is it astonishing, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, and the fact that Macclesfield deserved their victory is even more wonderful, because when you look at if you look at the goals, you can see that it's like they just wanted it all. They pushed the ball in the net, and the stadium exploded. But when you just take a look at the statistic, you can see that they have registered more shots than Crystal Palace in this game, and they have registered 13 shots in 90 minutes. It's incredible not only to have won that, but to have tried this hard against a Premier League club, second, a European qualified team, third, the FA Cup winner. So it's incrediable, and I hope for them. I didn't see the draw.
I've got it with me. I've got it with me.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. So I should also give you a bit more context. So you may have heard so Macclesfield Town was the side they were before. They were declared bankrupt and liquidated. So this is actually a Phoenix club.
Yeah.
So one where the fans have just moved on to basically the exact same club but rebirthed. So it is a Phoenix club. And perhaps more astonishingly, they lost one of their players. Ethan McLeod died in a car crash last month, and the fact that there's also emotional scenes at the end, because not only because of the victory, but also because Ethan McLeod's parents were there and still part of the club, and it was a beautiful thing to include them as well. But yes, the next round of the FA Cup, if you'd like to know, Macclesfield have been drawn at home against Brentford. Now, it's one of these things where if you don't know how this works, rather than sort of having regular gate receipts, what happens in the FA Cup is that both sides get 40% of the gate receipts, the income from the match, and then 20% goes to the FA. So Macclesfield were really, really hoping for like an away match at one of the big lads, because then that's obviously for a club so low down, that's a life-changing amount of money. But home to Brentford also means that like potentially another one. Could they do it again? Other draws include Aston Villa at home against Newcastle United. That's right. Newcastle's reward for that brutal game against Bournemouth is away to Villa. And at the same time, Manchester City somehow keep getting the easiest draws imaginable. They've been drawn at home against Salford City or Swindon Town. Salford City, I believe they beat last year 8-0. So yeah, gives you some context for the FA Cup. We do have to park it there. We've run out of time. So let's quickly talk about, well, let's go to France, shall we? Let's go to France, sort of. Let's go to France. Should we talk about the Coupe de France?
Yeah, we can, but I let you tell what you think of this weekend Coupe de France ties.
Well, I have written a note, by the way, which was, are we ever going to have League One again? League 1 again? Because obviously the break before the sort of winter break was like, oh, that was Coupe de France. And then there was a break, and then they came back, and now it's Coupe de France again. And also there was the French Super Cup in Kuwait. Yeah, which did anyone care about?
Sorry?
Did anyone care about that?
Sorry? No, we don't.
Yes, but that happened, of course. But we are going to talk about two matches in the Coupe de France of note, because as you said before, before we went live, a lot of predictable results, not many shocks, but there were two good ones. First of all, Lille lost at home 2-1 against Lyon. That was a nice sort of big clash between two sides in the top 7. But then the big one, and possibly the most interesting, Paris Saint-Germain nil point. Paris FC 1. That's right, the Parisian derby, the same as a couple of weeks ago, except this time Paris FC won and have knocked out Paris Saint-Germain. So that was obviously completely hard. Well, no one predicted that as a result. But that just opens up the possibility for anyone to win this now. Yeah. The second Paris Saint-Germain are gone, the rest of the French football is like, hey, we can actually win a trophy this year.
That's maybe the most important thing with this result, is that the Coupe de France will now become a major objective for all Ligue 1 clubs involved, like Marseille, Lyon, Lens, Monaco, Rennes. It's for these clubs, a victory in the Coupe de France could save the season, because, for example, if you take the example of Lyon, their last trophy dates back at 2012. So it's been a long time for a club like Lyon. Marseille haven't won a single trophy for, I don't even remember this, but it was 10 years almost 10 years ago too. Monaco, Rennes, they also need to win something. Lens, they could complete the double if they are winning the Ligue 1. So it's impressive, and it adds something interesting to the cup, because this last years we've been obviously aware of the fact that PSG are going to win it, even if not won it, even if Rennes won it in the last 10 years. But yeah, a very interesting result and performance from Paris FC.
And actually it's really the first, since being promoted, the first statement result as well, I believe.
Yeah, and maybe the start of the Red Bull project, because Red Bull LVMH project for the club.
Yeah, although as I messaged you at the time, I did say, like, it's quite hard to consider billionaire owners of Paris FC as the underdogs. So like the billionaire owners of Paris FC and the oil state owned Paris Saint-Germain, what did I say? Let them eat each other. But that's kind of it for the French football this way. But let's take a minute before we finish to talk about AFCON. So it was the quarterfinals. Again, everything went as predicted to the quarterfinals. But what it does mean is that the quarterfinals were very strong and very interesting. Mali lost 1-0 against Senegal after a goalkeeping howler allowed Ndiaye to score in the first half. Also, Spurs' Yves Bissouma was sent off for a second yellow in the first half. Cameroon lost 2-0 against hosts Morocco. Morocco, despite the fact not being brilliant in this tournament, keeps scoring, and especially Brahim Diaz, who really has turned up this tournament. Algeria lost against Nigeria. Algeria lost against Nigeria 2-0. Goals from Aziman and Adams. But the game of the quarterfinals, Egypt 3, defending champions Ivory Coast 2. So the defending champions are out. That was a good old match as well. Goals for Mamouche, Rabia, Salah. Yeah, fun old game, which means that we do have the semi-finals. But before I say the semi-final lineup, do you want to say anything about the quarterfinals? What would you like to highlight?
The main thing I would like to highlight is that Nigeria put a statement on the competition. I think it was the most impressive performance since the start of it. To be honest, I haven't been impressed by the competition. But what Nigeria did to Algeria was extremely strong. It was a really strong performance, impressive display. So it will be, of course, an interesting game against Morocco. And I think it will be a crazier game than Senegal versus Egypt, which I think will be more close because of the teams. So if I was to watch one of these two games, it would certainly be Nigeria versus Morocco.
Which also begs the question: how the hell didn't Nigeria qualify for the World Cup?
Yeah.
But also, it's quite juicy, the Senegal-Egypt, because of course there is history here. I think it was the 2021 AFCON where this was the final. Senegal-Egypt, the Mane-Salah rivalry, where Sadio Mane, I believe he missed a penalty in regular time and then scored the winning penalty in the shootout. And then only like 4 or 5 months later, there was the playoff to go to the World Cup. Same thing happened. Sadio Mane scored the winning penalty. So there's history there. But currently, Mane against Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah currently is 2-0 to Mane. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. Out of those 4, who do you think is going to win this?
That's a tough question. But if I have to say one name, I would go. I think the final is going. First, I think the final is going to be Egypt versus Nigeria, and I think Nigeria will go through to win the title. Who do you think?
It does. I would agree, just because it seems like they are the only genuinely impressive team. Like like they as opposed to just like sort of getting through matches. Like no, they dominate.
Yeah, from what we have seen, I think they are the better.
But it'd be interesting to see like how Morocco do that though, because they did step up against Cameroon. So like Morocco haven't had the hardest route through this competition, but also they are defeating who's in front of them. Okay, so with a few minutes left, oh my God, we're on schedule. We had all that to talk about. Thank goodness nothing happened in France. So 3 things we may have missed. I've got a couple of things. I would like to highlight the Scottish Premiership, where Hearts are still at the top by 6 points. But this may not be very interesting at the start. They defeated Dundee 1-0 at the weekend. But their goalkeeper got sent off at the end of the first half. And 42-year-old Craig Gordon, I forget how old he is, 41, 42, Craig Gordon, Scottish international, came on. Hearts defended their lead, but what I want to say, like what you might have missed, was Craig Gordon produced a save in the 3rd or 4th minute of stoppage time, which was incredible. One of those moments that could define a season. Like that could genuinely be what wins them the title. That one point blank save. It was absolutely fantastic. What do you think we may have missed?
One interesting signing in French 4th tier. If you remember, a few years ago, Andy Carroll came to France and sign with Bordeaux. Today, Bordeaux have announced the signing of Almani Touré, which 3 years ago was winning the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt. So it's of course a huge coup for Bordeaux, who are still playing in the French 4th division. The Malian international is only 29, so that's interesting, and it shows what Bordeaux represent at the scale of French football. So this was one of The coup of the
And
Mercury.
one other I'd like to bring up, which is in the WSL, something quite unusual happened. Certainly something I don't think I've ever seen before. So West Ham United were going to bring on their new signing, Cascarino, signing from Juventus, I believe. And she was denied entry to the pitch. Do you know why?
I don't.
She had an earring in, but unlike
Ah.
other parts of other European competition in England, that you're not allowed any jewelry at all. But unfortunately, it's not a piece of jewelry you can take out yet. It has to be surgically removed. So she was refused entry to the pitch.
Okay, so that's unusual, and I missed that. Yeah, that's unusual. That's the first time I hear something like that.
But England has a slightly stricter, stricter rule for that than everywhere else.
But it's good.
Hence why she could wear the earring when she was playing in Italy all that time, and yet over here it's like, oh, so it's just the sort of thing you just miss, right? Because she had it taped up. But yeah, not allowed. Right, let's go on Trivial Trivia. We just hit the hour mark, and I need to go. By the way, apologies everybody for watching me sneeze and wipe my nose. But that's what I've been doing. Obviously, very unwell, but it wasn't anything untoward or anything. Right, a little bit of trivia. Do you have anything?
I've got one for you.
Go on then.
Can you name the 5 teams that have scored the most goals in the 5 major leagues this season? We've mentioned one earlier.
Well, I mean, obviously, one is Bayern, obviously.
The first.
I would go Barcelona for Spain.
Yeah, with 53
they're 2 obvious ones.
Goals.
Yeah. Now we know for a fact that Marseille were the top goal scorers, but that was about 6 weeks ago, and I think that might have changed by now. It might actually still be Marseille. Is it still Marseille?
Marseille are not in the 5 best.
Oh, do you mean? Sorry. So just not.
Yeah,
not
across. Yeah.
Okay.
The 5 across the 5 leagues.
Oh, sorry. I see. So not just the top goal scorers in each league.
No.
Oh, I see. Sorry, apologies. Okay, so in that case, yeah, Bayern. I mean, I doubt it's anyone in Italy. Is it actually? Is there an Italian team in there?
There is an Italian team.
Is it Juventus?
No.
Or is it Inter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Bayern, 63 goals. You've mentioned Barcelona, second with 53 goals. Mm-hmm. Inter, 4th with 42 goals.
So okay, who are the other 2? Weirdly, I don't think it's. I'm not putting an English team in there, although there are a lot of goals. I wouldn't say it was Arsenal.
There is an English team.
Oh, who'd be the top? I mean, I suppose would it be Man City? Is that too boring?
It's Manchester City.
It's just because of Haaland. It's not a Man City, it's Haaland.
3rd with 45 goals scored.
I suppose it's Real Madrid is the other, just because of Mbappe.
And it's Real Madrid with 41 goals. But it's impressive to compare Bayern to Real. It's 22 goals between them.
Yeah, that is astonishing, isn't it? Well, I got 4 out of 5. Okay, I've got a couple for you because I've already thrown the Manchester United date one at you, which is astonishing. Who is, across the top 5 leagues, who's the top goal scoring teenager?
So, under 21?
Yeah. Well, under 20, so just teenager.
Okay. Across the 5 leagues.
5 leagues, who is the top goal scoring teenager?
Elie Junior Kroupi, I know he's.
It is well done.
Yeah?
I mean, he's tied with Lamine Yamal, but that is quite an astonishing thing that the top goal scoring teenager plays for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And the final one, which I'll be honest, I've been saving for weeks. Maybe I should keep it for next week, but it also might become null and void. So at the time Wolves finally won, I actually had another team. Not in the top 5 leagues. In fact, this is in the top, say, 7. This is the 7th top team. Can you name the only team across the top 20 European leagues who have yet to win a match?
Top 20 European leagues?
Well, yeah, but it's. I'll give you a clue. It's the 7th. It's the 7th team.
Okay.
The 7th league.
So Netherlands or Portugal, I think.
Yeah. It's Portugal.
It's Portugal. I don't have any idea. Sorry,
of course not. Sorry, this is a really, really difficult one because like there are some obscure Portuguese teams. It's a team called AVS. AVS. Although I have no idea what it stands for because I didn't research it. But yeah, they have still not won a match.
Okay, so next weekend I will keep an eye on AVS results.
I am. I'm
Thank you,
making a
Daniel.
note when I actually finally win. Like then I'll make a like what you may have missed. Hey, they won. Right, let's bring a close to that. I am going to go and just sneeze more often and have some soup. Thank you so much, Leo, for revitalizing me for this.
Thank you, Daniel, for.
We'll see everybody next week, where we'll talk about the AFCON final and the winners of that. We'll talk about what's there to talk about. Oh my goodness, there's going to be Serie A midweek. We've got Bundesliga, Serie A. We've got the Coppa del Rey. We've got Coppa Italia, Coupe de France, and then next week we go back to the league. And in fact, on Friday we got the return of Ligue 1. Hurrah! But until then, make sure you follow all the social medias. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Blah 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 blah. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Thank you ever so much, everybody.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Achoo.